All right, let me see. There we are. Good morning, Unity of Tustin. It is Sunday, October 31st, and welcome to Unity. I am Kathleen Andrews, a relatively new Unity of Tustin board member, welcoming you and giving you the announcements for this Sunday. First of all, I want to let anybody know that if you're chilly, we do have things fully set up in the sanctuary. So if you want to be in a slightly more temperature controlled area, we've got screens up and there'll be maybe few other people there in with you. So that is definitely an option. For some introductions, our beloved Shara Moscinska is on the platform today. One of our three Unity ministers right now. Our guest musician for the day, who was opening before the service, is Patricia Bahia. And if you're in the mood for positive music, you are in the right place this morning. She is an award-winning singer-songwriter and resilient cancer survivor who lives her bucket list and inspires others to do the same. You may have heard her music on one of several TV stations. Her songs have been on ABC, CBC, CMT, ESPN, Freeform, Hallmark, MTV, NBC, Netflix, and TV Land. She's an award winner. She's a grand prize winner of the Peace Song Awards in 2020 and a 3-time Positive Music Award winners in 2018, 2019, and 2020. So we're really looking forward to her musical gifts this morning. We're continuing our moment of gratitude. This week, we'd like to thank our camera operators. They're Gary Godshaw, Russell Burns, Carrie Neckes, and Annette DeFontis. They show up early and are patiently standing behind the cameras and taking directions from Tony inside. They work tirelessly, and we're really grateful with the help they make to our live stream services to make those accessible to everybody who's watching online and watching the recordings later. If you're interested in joining this team, be sure to let Christy or Mary Jean know. This week I've got a couple announcements about our usher ministry. Kathy Corner has stepped up to lead this important team. She is interested in making it more of an active ministry, and we do need additional ushers. So if you have an extra smile to share, go right over and see Kathy. She will have a meeting for new or people continuing in ushers or people who are just interested next Sunday, November 7th, immediately following the service. They'll meet from about 12:15 to 12:45, and she'll go over what this more active ushering will be about. She will reveal that. Swinging into the holidays, we are going to be continuing to volunteer for our community and help make Christmas a happier time for the children in our community. We have volunteered to be a drop-off site for Toys for Tots, and we'll have a box in the bookstore. That'll be beginning next Sunday, November 7th, all the way to the second Sunday in December through December 12th. All you need to do is bring any unwrapped toy into the bookstore and drop it in that box, and it could be a gift for any child of any age. And the last announcement is about our Unity in Faith Grand Finale. It will be a virtual Q&A with John Selby, the author of Seven Masters, One Path. That will be in 2 weeks on November 14th from about 1 to 2:15 p.m. John will answer any community questions anybody in the community has and also share the inspired wisdom of his own mystical heart. So as you go through the book, I know you're discussing with other people on the adventure and faith pathway with you, but there may be some questions you may have for the author especially. You can watch that event either in the sanctuary or at home on Zoom, and the Zoom link will be coming in emails and further announcements. So at this time, I will turn the platform over to Margie Kerrigan, who will be singing Surely the Presence.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning. My name is John Claude Pinto. I'm one of your prayer chaplains here at Unity of Tustin. And it gives me great honor to open the service today by lighting the Christ candle first and then reading the daily word. So that's what we'll do, light the Christ candle. We light the Christ candle just as a reminder that ever-present Christ consciousness that resides in every one of us. And this flame is symbolic of that. The daily word today is protected. And the affirmation is, I find my protection in the light of faith and truth. And the scripture is from Psalm 18:31-32. For who is God except the Lord? And who is a rock besides our God? The God who girded me with strength and made my way safe. I smile and act frightened as I recognize the neighborhood children who come to my door wearing scary masks and costumes. Children of all ages enjoy playing make-believe. Pretend fright is part of the fun of Halloween. Now and then, in response to an unexpected and unwelcome challenge, most serious thoughts of fear seep into my mind and upset my emotional well-being. At the first hint of unease, I remember that all of the protecting power of God is as near as my next thought. I say no to fear and yes to faith. My confidence grows as I practice the divine presence, discovering not only the protecting power, but also the guiding love and wisdom of God everywhere I go and in everything I do. I'm going to say the affirmation, and then when I say it the second time, I'd like you to join me, please. I find my protection in the light of faith and truth. I find my protection in the light of faith and truth.
When you're worn and feeling weary, and your when you've done all you can do. If you feel you can't go on, I'll be there for you. Ooh, 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 I'll be there for you. If you feel like singing along on this, ooh, 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 I'll be there for you. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe it's gonna get better. You and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, we can do this together. And I know, yes I know, yeah I know we're gonna make it through. No matter what happens, I'll be there for you. Ooh, sing it with me. Ooh, ooh, I'll be there for you. Ooh, 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 I'll be there for you. One more time. Ooh, 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 I'll be there for you. When you're worn and feeling weary, and your hope has fallen through, you can lay your worries on me. I'll be there for you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Patricia Bahia. It's lovely to have you here. It's lovely to be here with all of you and all of you online. And let us take a moment to presence ourselves in this beautiful sacred community with some prayer. So I invite everyone to breathe. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And in this sacred space, we align with the power and presence of God that lives, moves, and has its being in us, as us, and beyond us. And it is that alignment and that unfolding that we are practicing as community as we adventure in faith. We start with our affirmation of breathing freely, of being in alignment with the Spirit, the inspiration, the breath that is an inherent part of life and presence. From there, we move to my mind is quiet now. And in that quietness, we accept the world just as it is. And then we include ourselves in that acceptance by loving ourselves just as we are. I love myself just as I am. And that brings us to today's consciousness expansion affirmation of my heart is open to receive God's healing help. As Patricia sang, I am there for you. And today we bring that in and we take advantage of the cultural acknowledgement of the thin line between the worlds. And we bring forward the love that always exists and always is accessible, even when we transform into new dimensions, into dimensions of spirit. So for all of those who have made their transition into the mystery, we know that we can also access that love, that mystery, that guidance in each and every moment as well. We are grateful to be here. We are grateful to continue forward in our adventure in faith. And in that gratitude, we pray this in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Christ presence. And so it is. Amen. Now, we are delighted as we continue in our adventure in faith to have members of our community come forward and give their testimonial of what Unity of Tustin means to them. And today we are delighted to have Julie Schaefer share her story with us. So welcome, Julie.
Good morning, Unity of Tustin, and all those joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Julie Schaefer. When I was asked to share, I had to think and pray about it. Being vulnerable is scary, and words don't flow when I'm standing in front of an audience. So I thought I could write about how I came to Unity and what it's meant to me. As you can see, I said yes to sharing. To grow is to say yes even when I'm not comfortable. I started thinking about my journey up to this moment, and I see how God has blessed me so much throughout my life. So thank you, Mary Jean, for asking me, and I'm feeling honored to be up here. I was raised Catholic. There are 6 of us kids and my mom and dad. My parents have and still are my role models, spiritually and in living my life. My mom being the rock that kept us close together and close to God. They raised us all to be caring, kind, honest, loving, and accepting to everyone. We went to church every Sunday for as long as we lived at home. I knew God loved me, but it seemed I had to be a good kid in order for that to be true. I did not experience any other religions when I was growing up. By the time I reached high school, I chose a Catholic church. Finally, a bit of relating. With youth mass and music, with the music on guitars, as a teenager, the words and music began to resonate with my life and ways of thinking. My close friends started attending Calvary Chapel with Greg Laurie and invited me to come and check it out. I connected to the music and the teachings, Bible studies, and being with my peers. I experienced belonging and was beginning to learn and understand what having a personal relationship with God was all about. Life was good. In my early 20s, I had a life-changing experience. I fell in love with my best friend, and she with me. I won't go into my coming out story, but needed to mention this because it was the time that brought me to search for my truth and my beliefs and who God is, because now I heard different. I experienced what it's like to be a minority, to not be accepted or fit in, to be judged, to see and hear others discuss and hate for being me, and learned it was not okay with God. This was love I was talking about, and I knew God is love. I took a few years to search for who I was and if my beliefs that I had come to know were true. And I found my answers. God is love, and love is God. And I am gay, and I am the same loving, compassionate, caring, honest, fun, nature and animal loving person that I've always been. Thanks. Thank you. My heart longed for spiritual community where I could be me. I tried many churches and places of worship. There always seemed to be something missing. About 10 years ago, my sister Melanie invited me to Unity of Tustin. I remember walking onto this beautiful onto the beautiful grounds and seeing a purple and white sign that read, "One God, many paths. This is a sacred space where boundaries dissolve. All faiths welcome." My heart leapt. I remember feeling welcomed by the people and how special to receive a flower for being new. There were a lot of tears that's first service and in many more services. God was speaking clearly. You are home. Some Sundays it was Reverend Marge and others it was Reverend Carolyn. I heard a lot I did not understand, but their messages always seemed to speak directly to me. I kept coming back. It was the second year that I heard about Adventure in Faith. John Claude was the speaker that Sunday, and his story of who he was and how he came to Unity touched me so deeply. I felt an instant connection and wanted to tell him I wanted to tell him. And I didn't see him for about another 3 weeks. And then I introduced myself after the service and told him how much I appreciated his words. I knew I was in the right place. 2014 was my worst year and my best year. I experienced loss like never before, but having Unity here helped me through. John Welshons gave a class on grieving, and I had the prayer chaplains to pray with. I became a member here, and that was the best part. I have grown so much since in my faith, wisdom, and discernment. There's a lot also still I do not understand, and that is okay. There is a word for that, and I learned it, and it's called a beginner's mind. I look forward to Adventure in Faith. It brings our community closer in an intimate way where we get to know one another on a deeper level, sharing our personal truths. I love being part of this community, diverse and loving community. And I absolutely love our new ministry team and how I experience Unity of Tustin moving forward and onward. There are so many more things I love to talk about and what I love being a part of Unity. But I know my time's up. So thank you for being the loving, beautiful lights in this world.
The stars have all gone dark, the skies look black. I'm afraid the life we knew ain't coming back. The winds of change are blown, now home don't feel like home, not my home. In the midst of all the chaos in my mind, it's hard to live life one day at a time. It's getting hard to breathe. I'm falling to my knees, and I pray. Spirit, help me, hold me, show me, pour your love into me, let your light shine through me, give me strength to plans I had in mind have all gone wrong. Now I'm learning how to keep on keeping on, to offer what I can, to be a helping hand. And I pray, Spirit, help me, hold me, show me, pour your love into me, let your light shine through me, give me strength to be your peace, let me 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 be your peace, your peace. In the dark of the night, let me be the flame. In the calm of the eye of the hurricane, steady anchor in an ocean of change. Let me be your, let me be the song, be the voice, be the harmony. Rise above all the noise, be the hope we need. Be a comfort to the suffering. Let me be your, let me be your peace. Let me be your peace. Oh, let me be your peace. Let me be your peace. Let me be your peace. Pour your love into me. Let your light shine through me. Give me strength to be your peace. Let me be your peace.
Beautiful. 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 And the perfect song to introduce this talk. But before we get deep into it, let's just start with first things first. Happy Halloween. Sorry, I had no costume for you whatsoever. No, I was just kind of wondering, like, what exactly am I? You know, am I original blessing? Am I an angel? Am I the truth of who we are? Am I a hypocrite? Am I who we want people to see us as? You know, all good? And that one sounded right. You know, sometimes this is how I like to be seen. I like to be seen as all good. But we are the tribe of both and, right? So to make it a little more honest, I thought we needed a bit of a there we go. Hope they're even for the camera. You know, because this is it. This is the truth of who we are. And we forget. We are connected to the true vine. And we start to identify with something separate from that. And part of the reason for spiritual community and the reason for being here is so we can reconnect with that truth of who we are. And that's what we're doing here today, to continue to move into that truth through our adventure in faith, through Seven Masters, One Path, this wonderful work of John Selby. And like I said in our opening prayer, you know, it's really beautiful that this is Halloween. You know, we sell it with costumes and trick-or-treating, but the deeper roots is All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, where the veil between the worlds is thin. And this talk is about asking Spirit, help me, show me, guide me, to be that receptivity to the divine that transcends us. And this is part of the tradition of many cultures. I lived in Poland for a couple of years in my 20s, and All Souls Day is a national holiday that even the communists couldn't eradicate. And people get together and families get together like we do for Thanksgiving. And my friends and their families, they invited me to the cemetery, and there's candles and flowers and grieving families. It's a time to remember, to grieve, to let those blocks dissolve, and then to open to the bigger sense of self, to the bigger sense of the divine. And I went back that night because it was so beautiful. And every single gravesite had a candle on it, because people bring extras. So if there's any site that may have been neglected, it gets cared for. And even though it was a cold autumn night in November, the cemetery, from all the people and all the candles, was warm. Now, so this is what we're moving into at this time, to remember that the love is eternal, that it is always present, and that we can access it. And in our adventure in faith, we've been preparing precisely for this opening with our affirmation, my heart is open to receive God's healing help. Let's say that together. My heart is open to receive God's healing help. Beautiful. But you know, this receiving, there's two parts to receiving. One is letting go, and then the other is letting God. We let go and let God. But that letting go is so difficult. There's a teaching story of a man who fell from a precipice, and he's hanging from a limb, and there's a hungry tiger pacing above and jagged rocks below, and he calls out, "Is anybody there? Can anybody help me?" And this booming, resounding voice says, "Yes." And he's like, "God?" God's like, "Yes." "Can you help me?" "Yes, I can help you. You just have to do one thing." And the man says, "Anything, anything." And God says, "Let go." The man thinks for a moment, then says, "Is there anyone else?" Because it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to let go, to not cling, to surrender. And it even has a pejorative meaning. You know, we don't run for office saying, "I will surrender." We have often a misconception of the power and strength and leadership of letting go and surrender, right? And it's helpful to say what letting go is not. When we let go, we are not giving up. We are not being a doormat. We are not being weak. We are not being passive in the face of injustice. Rather, when we are letting go, we are taking a quantum leap of faith. A quantum leap of faith where we are affirming that there is something to catch us, that there is this one power, this one presence, God the good, There is this evolutionary trajectory that is going somewhere and going somewhere good, that has a sentient intelligence beyond our separate self, that we can fall into and be unfolded by in order to increase our capacity to experience and express the divine. It is an act of radical, beautiful faith. And it is our invitation. It is our invitation, and it is our possibility. We've been being prepared for this on our adventure and faith journey. Our first affirmation is to breathe freely, to connect almost unconsciously with the present moment and the divine that always is. Then we move to quieting our mind. After that, it's about accepting life as it is. Again, not as resignation, but each step we are removing the barriers that keep us from accessing and receiving the divine directly. And when we resist reality, that is a barrier that is going to make it harder for us to receive. So we accept, and then we include ourselves in that radical acceptance, and we love, and we connect with the heart. And once we have identified that heart, now we can take the radical next step. We can open the heart and have it be filled to overflowing by that which is beyond us. This is the birth of mysticism. This is the birth of the direct experience of the divine, our knowing function. This is where we get to participate in that mystery by experiencing and expressing our Christ light. You know, what's funny is online you can't hear the airplane. And you're watching and you're just kind of like, why is there this pause? I want to talk a little bit about what Charles Fillmore says about receptivity in the Revealing Word. He writes about spiritual receptivity as the attitude of mind that awaits the higher way as a little child waits the helping hand of the parent. Not the arbitrary disciplinarian, but the loving, tender, understanding heart that invisible life lightens the intricate problems that perplex the mind. When one who is receptive and obedient gives oneself unreservedly to Spirit and receives without antagonism, without resistance, its guidance, she or he is delighted with the possibilities that are disclosed in caring for our physical and spiritual needs. So this is one of our principles. And even the affirmations that we've been doing are like our denials. My mind is quiet now. I deny the power of thought. I accept the world as it is. I deny my resistance. I love myself as I am. I deny my judgments. And therefore, I can step forward in my emptied original blessing to be blessed and guided by the love of God. John Selby says when we open our hearts to receive, we make ourselves vulnerable by placing ourselves in a position of submission, of trust. Surrendering our ego defenses and opening up to receive the inflow of a higher consciousness lies at the center of spiritual life. This leap of faith where we trust enough in our hearts to accept the inflow of Spirit, where we're willing to make ourselves vulnerable, this is where we have faith that the power we are surrendering to is good, loving, wise, utterly trustworthy, and even evolutionary. We are asking to be overwhelmed by a reality that exists beyond our intellectual concepts. Because that's what spiritual means, after all. It means the greater reality that is transrational, that lies beyond our mental concepts, beyond our strategies, beyond our control, and connecting to the mystical, having that direct, transcendent experience of God. So in this work, John Selby introduces this through the work of Muhammad. So why Muhammad? So Muhammad was born about 560 AD in Medina, in an Arab part of the world, very heavily influenced by both Judaism and Christianity, and with the belief that there was a direct lineage from Adam to Abraham to his son Ishmael to the tribes of the Arab world. Muhammad was a very spiritually minded person and a very ethical person. He married a wealthy woman, Khadija. They had a family and a household together. And he always cared for the poor, for the widows, for the children. He lived very much in accordance to Jesus' teachings. And his God was very much like Jesus' God, an all-loving, all-knowing, all-forgiving God that wanted what was best for us, wanted to give guidance to us, wanted to give love to us. So during meditation, during the month of Ramadan, Muhammad is visited by the Jewish angel Gabriel and other angels. And through these visitations, he receives God's love. He receives Spirit's mystery. He receives the divine teachings beyond what he could ever know or create himself. And it becomes the Quran, the sacred book of Islam. And he tells us again and again that this all-loving, all-knowing God wants to provide for us. All we have to do is ask. And then we can have the direct relationship ourselves. And to me, this is very compatible with the teaching right after Jesus' resurrection. Jesus resurrects. He sees Mary in the garden, and he says, "Why are you weeping?" She does not recognize him, and then he says, "Mary." And she says, "Rabboni," which means teacher. She rushes to him. And what does he say? Does anyone remember what he says? Yeah. "Do not touch me," or even more, do not cling. Do not cling. Because now the direct experience of God is possible, and we do not have to cling to the outer teacher. So just do that gesture yourself. Feel yourself cling. Just feel that. And it's so hard to receive when we're clinging. But do not cling, let go. And then as Jesus teaches and Muhammad teaches, we can receive. We can receive that deeper expression. We can become a part of the true vine. We can be sourced by Spirit itself. And rather than broadcasting, we can start receiving. So then the question becomes, why is that so difficult? Why is it so difficult for us to receive? So there are a couple of ways that this is addressed in our chapter. One of them is sometimes it's not. Sometimes we are in that space of original blessing. Sometimes we know our wholeness. Sometimes we are claiming the consciousness of that we want to live into. And our prayer of reception may look differently. There we might say, my heart is open to God's insight. My heart is open to receive God's love. My heart is open to receive, to simply receive. My heart is open to be the consciousness that I am feeling in my mind, my heart, and my soul. To strengthen and reinforce our consciousness of affirmative prayer. But sometimes we are not in that state. Sometimes we are confused. Sometimes we have lost the identity of the truth of who we are, and we are indexing our worth on what's happening outside of ourselves. And in those moments, our prayer is help. Give me what I do not yet know, but I need to know you more. We move into that space. We move into our space where our broken heart can be the portal to more love and more light. Muhammad said over and over in the Quran that when you point your attention towards God, God comes to you. A God who is all-loving, as well as all-powerful and all-wise. And in unity, we say that what we think about, we bring about. Where attention goes, energy flows. And when you point your attention towards God, God comes to you. And sometimes we cannot get those thoughts to stop. Sometimes we cannot find our own equilibrium, but even knowing that if we could, we would be more at peace. And bringing that in prayer to God, we are more than halfway there. And then we can start. We can start this expansion of needing God to get to God, of being in between, and using our life to expand our capacity to receive more and more and more. So what I'd like to do now, and this is your cue, Tony, to start cueing us up, is to practice this meditation, to practice this receptivity. And we're going to do it again through John Selby's work. So I'd invite you now to move into a meditative space. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If not, lower your gaze. And let us experience this ourselves through the words of John Selby, which Tony will play for us right now.
Let me guide you fairly quickly now through the first 4 steps that you're mastering. Please remember that each of these classes is designed to be listened to many, many times. Each is a unit in and of itself. And so I always guide you through the earlier expansions, because the expansion we're learning in this particular one only works if you've said those earlier focus phrases to yourself and gone step by step through the natural expansion of human consciousness that we're discovering is really the template to greater awareness and awakening. And so, of course, just get comfortable. If you're sitting up, see if you can find that very wonderful sense of balancing upright within the force field of the Earth's gravity. And tune into that most direct awakening experience, the sensation of the air flowing in and out of your nose, a new breath coming to you, a new experience right now. And as you stay aware of that sensation, at the same time, expand your awareness to include the sensations of movement in your chest and belly as you breathe. And allow your awareness to continue to expand to include the feelings in your heart right now. And continue expanding so that you are aware of your whole body at once, your whole being, here and conscious in the present moment. And say to yourself, I am breathing freely. My mind is quiet. I accept the world just as it is. And I love myself just as I am. And now you can begin to open yourself to even a deeper, greater expansion of your awareness as you open up to become receptive to the touch and the feel and the love and the insight and the power of God, of Allah, of the Creator, by any name, that infinite, creative, loving force that permeates this universe and yet only comes to you and influences your life when you open up and surrender and make this gesture we're learning in this fifth extremely important expansion of consciousness. Just say to yourself, my heart is open to receive. And you can then add to that sentence with whatever you need to receive today. In fact, the words will come spontaneously to mind. You can say, my heart is open to receive God's healing touch. Or perhaps my heart is open to receive insight. Or my heart is open to receive love and guidance. This is an act of faith, of spiritual trust. You let down all of your defenses. Your ego surrenders to the higher creative force of the universe and opens up so that, in fact, you do become one with God, and your thoughts and your actions and your emotions become permeated by this higher spiritual presence. This is the spiritual leap of faith that I encourage you to make every day, often, until, in fact, this expanded quality of spiritual awareness becomes your natural state of being. Just say it and allow it to happen. My heart is open to receive. As they say in Islam, Allah knows what you need. All you need to do is to surrender, open up, and receive. And so I will leave you for a few minutes or however long you want to continue your meditation today. My heart is open to receive.
And as we come out of meditation, we see God's healing help being received into the hearts of all of us and into the hearts of all of those on our prayer list here at Unity of Tustin and all of those in our minds and heart as we move out of meditation and into the living meditation of receiving God's love. I'll end today with a story told by Tara Brach about the Dr. Rachel Remen and her experience treating the angriest patient she had ever worked with. He was a young man named Jeff who was diagnosed with a sarcoma, and to save his life, the doctors had to amputate one of his legs. And when he woke up from surgery, he was a rageful man. He saw himself as a person without a limb. He resisted this. He thought it was wrong and bad. He fell into a depression, which he began to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. And it was at this time that he came to see Rachel Remen. She asked him to draw a picture of his body. And he drew a picture of a vase cracked in half. And the crack was jagged and angry and horrible. After this, he started to ask about how other young people were living with amputations. He met with a few of them. Some of them were doing volunteer work at the hospital with other amputees. And he became a volunteer himself, volunteering with people who were young amputees like he was. So one day he meets a 21-year-old woman who is recovering from a double mastectomy. She had a very, very aggressive cancer at 21. And she would barely look up from her bed. So after repeated unsuccessful attempts to engage her, Jeff looked down at his leg. He took off his prosthetic leg. He dramatically dropped it to the ground with a thud. And then he started jumping up and down on one leg in the room until finally he heard a little bit of laughter from her in the bed. And she said, "Fella, if you can dance, maybe I can sing." He went from anger to acceptance to loving himself to being a light for others. And by the way, they got married. Yes, it's one of those stories. I didn't write it. I'm just reporting the facts. So he has one final meeting with Rachel Remen, and she pulls out the drawing of the crack vase he drew 2 years before. And studying it, Jeff says, you know, it's really not complete. So he takes a yellow highlighter and he fills in the cracks with the yellow highlighter, emanating rays of light out from that crack and from that fissure. He smiled and he said, this is where the light comes from. This is where the light comes from. The cracks, the fissures, the horns, the shadow, the limitations, the feelings of failure. And I loved how he said, this is where the light comes from. We know, we've often heard that that's where the light gets in. That we create a new life by sometimes meditating on what breaks our heart. Michael Ward has a beautiful story of Andrew Harvey saying, meditate on what breaks your heart. And Spirit guided a whole new soul family from that experience. Once we receive from where that broken place is, once we receive Spirit, then we can be Spirit. And it also becomes where the light comes from. Once we receive the light of God, we can be the light of the world. So I invite you this week to go into your meditations with your halo, with your horns, with your blessings, with your struggles, with your acceptance, with your yearnings. And in the face of it all, open your heart and pray. My heart is open to God's healing help. Your heart is open to God's healing help. So you too can be the light of the world. I love you. God bless you.
Thank you, Shara. So before we begin our time of our tithing and love offerings, I just want to ask if there's anyone here this morning for the first time, if you'd be willing to raise your hand. Anybody? Any new people this morning? Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you all for being here this morning. And if you have anyone that is looking for a spiritual community, just like Julie described, her sister invited her, so invite your friends, your family, whatever. We'll welcome them here at Unity. I will mention that. And I want to tell you that Shara and I did not plan this today, but I wanted to share something with you that dovetails with something she said. No, I don't have, well, I do, yes. I do have horns. But in the Catholic tradition, as she described, All Souls Day, which is actually tomorrow, is kind of a big deal. And many cultures also celebrate the Day of the Dead, which has deep meaning for them. And I didn't even think about that either when I thought about what I wanted to share with you. But recently, we have tried in the last 6 months or so to begin to advertise our community as a place available for celebrations of life and memorials. And it seems that we're getting some attention for that it's working. And of course, we don't celebrate the fact that people need us for that. But on the other hand, it's so wonderful to be able to offer this space to people. And, some of your offerings, this financial support that you give to Unity of Tustin makes it possible for us to, have these lovely grounds available, especially for people at a time when they're going through tremendous trauma, suffering. They really so appreciate having a place where they can celebrate their loved one. We don't offer a lot of restrictions. I'll share with you that we're having a memorial coming up where they're having an Elvis impersonator. We are totally okay with that. I mean, there are certain things, obviously, that we wouldn't. And of course, probably you're asking yourself, do we do this for free? We don't. However, your donations, your financial gifts, allow us to maintain this campus, which in itself is a place of comfort for people. Most of you know that who've been here, that these grounds are a comfort in themselves. So if you spread the word as well, that this is a place where people can come if they're looking for a place to hold a celebration of life for a loved one who's passed away. Anyway, so let's say the love offering blessing together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And Patricia has another song for us.
Good morning. So I'm going to invite you to sing along. It's very easy. It goes like this. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. So when we get to that part, now you know it, and you can sing along with me. Oh yeah. People shouting like they got the answer. Louder and louder now, I'm drowning in a sea of anger. Quick to judge, pass the blame, assign the labels. Wish we'd all stop acting like we're strangers. If we could see underneath, we are one family, and it don't matter where you come from. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. One love, one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one. What if we could rise above division, look for the good, and take the time to really listen to everybody, every voice and every color. Give love 'cause we were made to love each other, and even if we disagree, we are one family, and it don't matter where you come from. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. One love, one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one. Every heart beats to the rhythm. This is your part. Every part beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. If you want to do a harmony, every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. If you're really high, you can sing. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. One love. One love. One love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. One love. One love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love. Every heart beats to the rhythm of one love.
Thank you so much, Patricia. So let's bless these love offerings. I invite each of you to join me in knowing that God is abundance. And because I am all that God is, I am abundance. I manifest abundance, the giving and receiving of all that God is. This church lives and thrives in the truth of the abundance that is our birthright. I am so grateful for this reminder of the truth I am. Thank you. And as we end our service today, remember Shara's salon in the sanctuary at 12:45, so you have a chance to have some hospitality and then join her in the sanctuary. Sunday supper is this afternoon, just a reminder about that. And let's say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Go forth and be the light in this world. Thank you.